Today, I have a very well-known author and respected businessman. We're going to be talking everything from money, debt, and taxes to the corruption in the financial and the education system. Joining me on the show today, we have the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It is Robert Kiyosaki. Robert, welcome to the show. How are you?
Welcome. I'm honored to be on your program.
No, I'm honored to have you. Thank you so much. Now, this show is all about freedom and entrepreneurship, and I want to explore all of these themes. So let's get straight into this. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the most iconic book when it comes to, understanding the system, money, debt, and taxes. And I think the reason is because people can't get that information anywhere else. We're not taught it in school. So I want to kick this off by asking you, why is financial literacy just not taught in schools?
That's a very good question. I always ask people, what does school teach you about money? And for most people, say, well, it's not important. I remember I was 9 years old in the fourth grade, and I asked my elementary school teacher when we would learn about money, and then she looked like she had chopsticks in her hair, and she looked like a little witch. And she says to me, she says, "The love of money is the root of all evil." I said, "Who told you that?" She says, "You should learn that in Sunday school." So the corruption goes deep into religion and everything. So that's why they don't teach money. They think it's some kind of religious problem or something. I really don't understand it.
But that's interesting that you asked that at such a young age. How did you know to question things at such a young age?
Well, because I went to a rich kid's school, and by accident, this was in Hilo, Hawaii, the farthest city farther south than Miami. I love Miami. But across the street was Hilo Union School, and I could throw a little baseball and hit this other school, was Hilo Riverside School. And Riverside School was for rich kids, public school, but they owned the plantations. My classmates owned the plantations. Across the street were the first generation immigrants to the plantations. And so I realized I was poor, although my father was the head of education, poor dad, And so that's why I said, how come they have nice bicycles? Why do they belong to the yacht club? Why do they go to the country club? But where it really hit home? Because I couldn't make money anywhere. And so I used to go caddy, and carry a golf bag. And so I'd hitchhike to the country club, and I'm sitting in the caddy shack. And to get a hamburger, which was 25 cents. I remember it was a lot of money for a hamburger back then, because most hamburgers were 15 cents in town. But this is the country club. So I go to the back door of the country club, and I order a hamburger. And I look through the door, and there's my classmates in the country club.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I realized I was poor. I said, how come their parents belong to the country club, and my poor dad, the head of education, can't afford to go there? So that's where the whole thing kind of started clicking for me. And that's why I got back to Riverside School. I asked that teacher with the chopsticks in her hair, head pulled back, when will we learn about money? And she says, the love of money is the root of all evil. I heard the same thing in Sunday school.
Wow.
So the whole education system is geared to be anti-money.
That is so fascinating.
Religions, you know what I mean, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But what would financial education in school look like for you? What would you like to have learned? Robert's often talked about how important it is to diversify your investments in order to build long-lasting wealth. That's why he and nearly 90% of financial advisors are investing into alternative assets. In fact, Morgan Stanley says that for the last 30 years, including alternative assets in your portfolio could have lowered your volatility and increased your returns. That's why Bank of America has recently recommended one specific high-performing alternative asset class: fine art. Last year, art prices rose an average of 29%, and Masterworks returned over $25 million to their investors. In fact, a recent Masterworks sale in late March returned investors more than 15% realized profits after just 36 days. Masterworks offers art from legends like Picasso, which is then securitized with the SEC and broken into shares. You can find Masterworks' filings at sec.gov. The links are in the description. Each of Masterworks' 12 sales to date has returned a net profit in excess of 9%, all the way up to 39% for a George Condo piece. As a result, paintings can sell out in hours, and due to the high demand, Masterworks have made a waitlist. So you can get special access by clicking my link in the description to invest and learn more about Masterworks' impressive performance.
Well, it was really simple because my poor dad, I finally bugged him enough, I said, well, when am I going to learn about money? He said, why don't you ask your best friend's father, my classmate? And that was Mike in the book. I had to change his name because the family doesn't want to be known.
Of course.
And I said, why does Mike's father know about money? My poor dad said, because he's an entrepreneur. I went, what's that? And what are you? He says, I'm an employee. I'm only 9 years old. I'm learning 2 new words, employee and entrepreneur. I went, what? What's the difference, And then my poor dad says, well, an entrepreneur must know about money. An entrepreneur must speak the language of money. I went, what? And then my poor dad says, I said, what are you? He says, I'm a school teacher. I'm an employee. And what about you? Why don't you have to learn to speak about money? He says, because all I want is a paycheck and a pension, paychecks and pensions. So that's kind of I'm 9 years old. I am totally confused now. So I go across town. It's a little dinky little sugar plantation town. Like I said, my classmates owned the plantations, and the kids across the street at Union School, all union members, they worked for the plantations. And my other, so I'm poor. So I sit down with my rich dad, who never went to school, ironically, and he wouldn't teach me about money either. And he kept rejecting me. I didn't realize it was part of the process. He wanted to find out how badly I wanted to learn. And he says, and as we all know as entrepreneurs, right, salesmanship begins when the customer says no. And so the more he said no, the more I got I said, well, and so I kept, going back to talk to him and all. He says, get out of here, kid. So that was test number 1 from my rich dad. Test number 2 was as if I teach you, you have to work for me for free. And I said, why for free? He says, because if I pay you, you'll think like your dad, poor dad. The rich don't work for money. So if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is right there, the rich don't work for money. And then I'm now all confused as a 9-year-old kid. And so that's when the whole thing started about financial education. And I realized, my poor dad, he was going for his PhD, which stands for poor, helpless, and desperate. And in the academic world, the school teachers, most are, they don't know it. They're good people, but they don't know they're.
Yeah.
And my poor dad kept saying, well, if I get my PhD, then I'll be safe. PhD, what's that? So he went to Stanford, University of Chicago, Northwestern. He still learned nothing about money. And so our kids, the young kids, about your generation today, they're they're indoctrinated, not educated. Black Lives Matter, critical race. I don't know what woke. I don't know what the heck's going on anymore. So our education system is more corrupt today than, let's say, 60 years ago when I was a kid.
The difference between employee and entrepreneur is fascinating, what it means to get a paycheck and how that changes your mentality. We're going to get into all of that and the whole woke culture. I'm surprised I turned out the way I did. But in terms of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you talk a lot about assets versus liabilities.
Correct.
And many people were shocked when you said that a house is actually a liability. Right. So why is it a liability? And can you explain the difference between an asset and a liability?
There's a bigger question here is, you see, the language of money is you know the definition of the word. So, and the good thing about it is, you want to be rich, just just speak the language of money. Like if I wanted to go to, let's say, Spain, I would learn Spanish. I'm 4th generation Japanese. I want to go to Japan, I learn Japanese. But when you go to a school system, you learn the language of a school teacher. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, pay taxes, get out of debt, and buy a house because it's an asset. But all you have to do is learn the words. So my poor dad called his house an asset. Mm-hmm. And my rich dad said, your house is a liability. Again, it's just the power of words and language. So the difference between rich people and poor people are words. And words are free. And when I say that, and it naturally it upsets the school teachers who are mostly, they're not bad people. When I was in 1965, I read the Communist Manifesto by Marx. And as I read, I went to military school in New York. And reading the book, I realized, my God, my family's communist.
Wow.
So they believed in taxes. They believed in, they abolished real estate. today Klaus Schwab says, you will have nothing and you'll be happy. That's all Communist Manifesto stuff.
Why don't people realize that? Because that statement, you'll have nothing and be happy by 2030, is just so, it's so evil. Like I feel it in my soul. So why can you and I feel how evil that is? But a lot of people aren't aware of how that's so communist and so toxic.
Well, because, in education, they use postmodernist education. They don't speak in specifics. They speak in generalities. Like, wouldn't you say we should all be equal? I mean, you wouldn't disagree with me.
I do. Yes, I agree. We should all be equal.
We should, but not reality.
Exactly.
So the postmodernist communists, the Marxists in our academic system, they speak in these platitudes like equality, this, that, and it's as non-specific as possible. But as a capitalist, I must speak in facts, figures, and the history. But they want to change history, the 1619 Project or whatever that is. And the real fact is, America, and then, you got to pay taxes. Well, Marx said graduated income tax is essential for the spread of communism. And so my father, poor dad, he believed in paying taxes. My rich dad didn't. Again, the word is taxes. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at what Biden's doing right now, he just put in 87,000 IRS agents who are armed. The reason is they're going after you, small business. They're going after the small entrepreneur. They can't touch me, because I'm not that stupid to pay taxes. And I can do it legally. But that's why I make fun of my friends Peter Schiff and Mark Moss. They were living in Puerto Rico. I said, if you were a real estate guy, you wouldn't live in Puerto Rico. You could live anywhere you want, not pay taxes, But again, it was Marx who said a graduated income tax is essential for the spread of communism. But the real facts are, in 1773, America was founded as a tax-free nation. It was called, against your homeland, England.
Yeah.
It was Boston Tea Party. It says, screw you, we're not paying taxes. And so the real facts are America was founded as a tax-free nation. Then came 1776, was a battle of Lexington and Concord and the Revolutionary War. Just look at the facts. Look at history. But no, these academic types, they want to blur history. Mm-hmm. They want to use these platitudes like we're all equal. I don't know what else they use. I can't.
Love is love. Have you heard that one? Love is love.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, that's a very vague statement.
Just show me the fucking money.
Well,
and I don't want to pay taxes on it. And I do. I couldn't say that if I was not legal.
Did you know that you don't have to pay taxes? You can move to another country and pay zero taxes legally. You might have seen my interview with Wealthy Expat, who does exactly this for you. They've helped over 500 crypto investors and entrepreneurs like Iman Gadji and Hamza lower their taxes down to 0% legally. And you could do it too in as little as just 2 weeks. Wealthy Expat will hold your hand and help you throughout the entire process, setting you up in a tax-free country like the UAE with the help of tax experts, lawyers, and accountants. So if you're interested in paying 0% taxes, then just book a free call with Wealthy Expat using the link in the description below. I'm with you. So let's understand how you do it. You talk about, don't save money in a bank account. So let's start there. Why shouldn't people be saving money in a bank account?
You gotta be crazy. I mean, look, they printed more money in the last, 5 years than ever in history. America is now the biggest debtor nation in history. Why don't they teach that in school? Our debt to GDP a few years ago was 90%. That was 90% debt to our gross production, GDP. Today it's about 125%. So the more they print money, the deeper in debt we get. And so what's happening right now, they print more money to give it to, like stimmy checks and all that, which robs us of wealth, which is all total communist mark. If you took a stimmy check, you're a communist. That's how I see it. That's money from the government. I don't touch anything from the government. I did cash my stimmy check. No, I didn't. I don't get a stimmy check. But anyway, so they increased the debt, right? And now we can't pay it off. And then they're going to raise interest rates into a recession. Now, you got to be kidding me. This guy Biden is going to crush this whole country. I mean, Europe's in more serious trouble than we are.
Yes.
Germany's in serious trouble. England's in trouble. Japan's in horrible problems. China's in trouble with Evergrande. The real estate's crashing. So this whole thing starts in academics. Why don't they teach us about money? So they're going to raise it. So the debt's going up. We can't pay it off anymore. They're going to raise interest rates and tax rates are dropping. Because the economy slowed so much, our taxes are going down. So that means the debt's going to accelerate. This is called a debt spiral or a death spiral. I think we're maybe 2 weeks to 2 years out from a crash, biggest crash in history. And I want to prove I know what I'm talking about is this book here, Rich Dad's Prophecy. Because a lot of people make predictions, but I can prove I made it. This book was written in 2013. It followed the 2008 crash. And it says here why the biggest stock market crash in history is still coming and how you can prepare yourself and profit from it. But I'm going to change the title from why the biggest stock market crash in history is here. And I think it's too late for most people. They're going to get hammered.
I know it's in the book, but what can people do to prepare for it? Just an overview.
Well, you have to understand that when markets crash, that's like Neiman Marcus having a sale. If Neiman was having a sale, would you be crying?
I guess not.
No. You'd be shopping,
Yeah.
So I get sexually stimulated think about this crash coming up. Because in 2008, when it crashed, holy mackerel.
Yeah.
I backed up the truck. I borrowed $300 million. Now, this guy, Dave Ramsey, who's a friend of mine, he says, live debt-free. And for 95% of the population, debt-free is a good idea because you don't know anything about money. But if you have a financial education, like my rich dad taught me, which is Rich Dad, Poor Dad there, debt is money. So I use debt to buy real estate at great prices. So today, if I want to, I drive a Ferrari. I always drive nice cars, Rolls and all this stuff. But a Ferrari is a liability. But a poor person would call it an asset. But to me, it's a liability because I got insurance, gas, all taxes, all that stuff. So before I buy my Ferrari, I might buy, let's say, a mini storage. And the mini storage I buy with debt, and the cash flow from the mini storage pays for my Ferrari. So I get richer getting nice cars. But of course, Dave Ramsey would say, live below your means. Well, that's good for most losers. But you want to win, use debt. You drive the nice cars, go to Neiman and on sale. I think that's a wonderful idea. I'd rather be rich than some scum-sucking poor person. I don't mean they're scum-sucking, but why would you want to live poor? It doesn't make sense to me. This is the land of America, the free, I'm in Miami. This place is spectacular. I'm going, whoa, I should move here because I had to leave Hawaii because Hawaii is a communist republic. Forbes called it the Communist Republic of Hawaii. And I own a beautiful home right on Diamond Head and all that. I just can't stand the energy there. Everybody's a communist. They're all labor union people and all this. And it's their freedom. I mean, I support their freedom to be that. But Hawaii is also one of the most racist states I've ever been there because, as you know, that's where Obama is from. He's one of the biggest racists I ever met. And, he's from, and he wasn't a poor kid. He was a rich kid. He went to Punahou School. I couldn't get into Punahou, I couldn't afford it, but I was not smart enough either. So, but he is as racist as they come. I'm going. So in Hawaii, I hate to say this, but they're racist against white people. So I have friends who are leaving Hawaii in droves right now who are white. They call them haoles in Hawaii. Because the locals, the natives, and especially the Asians don't like white people. So it's, this aloha. Oh, bullshit. I mean, you're as racist as they come. I mean, you don't like white people. And I see it on boards and, in the banks and all this stuff. So I just watch what people are doing, not what they're saying. Acta non verba, deeds not words. I don't listen to what a person says. I watch what they do.
That is all so fascinating. Number one, I didn't know Hawaii was racist.
Everybody's racist.
Everybody's racist.
Everybody's racist. I see what your race was, and you're hot. Who cares? But anyway,
I get it. But I want to touch on the financial crisis. The $300 million loan that you took. That's crazy. I'm excited to hear how that works out. But in terms of banks, I want to go back a little bit. You say that banks run the world. What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate?
Well, I mean, Obama, again, a nice boy. Give me a break. Give me a break. He was one of the biggest estates in Hawaii. And then we have trouble in Hawaii with walls and stuff like this. Of course, he gets a wall put in. Everybody else, their house is being swept away by the environment, But Obama gets to put a wall in? Oh, really? I'm going, I watch what a person does, not what they say. So what he also did in 2008 and 2009, who did he bail out? He bailed out first General Motors, then the banks. Did he ever help the middle class who are losing their houses? No. Always watch what a person does, not what they say.
Why did that happen, though? Why are the banks getting bailed out? Why is it so important to protect the banks?
Well, wouldn't you? It's a... I don't know why, but it starts in our academic system. That's where our teachers speak the language of a school teacher. I speak the language of a capitalist. I know there's an asset and liability. I know what bailout means. If you read the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, was by G. Edward Griffin. It's the book on how the Fed was created. It's Jekyll Island, I think in 1913. Is the opening chapter is the name of the game is bailout.
Mm-hmm.
So every time the banks get trouble, the whole system is set up to bail out the rich. Oh, really? No, they wouldn't do that. We're supposed to be equality and all this stuff. No. This whole setup is to protect the banks and Wall Street and those guys. That's why I don't save money. I borrow money. That's why I don't own stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs like Tony Robbins recommends. I won't touch that stuff. And I don't trust the school system. So I'm an entrepreneur. I can create my own assets. I don't need to buy them from Wall Street or the banks.
So let's define then the difference between good debt versus bad debt, because you said, most people shouldn't get into debt because that will just wipe them out. So what's the difference?
Well, good debt makes you rich. That's real simple. So I bought this property in San Antonio with my friend Ken McElroy. He's the genius. He wrote the book ABCs of Real Estate for me, for us. But this San Antonio property had crashed, and it was mismanaged by the owners. They stripped all the copper wire out of the place. They took all the fixtures out. And then suddenly it was in foreclosure. So that's what a lot of entrepreneurs do. They take the asset and strip it. Okay. So I walk into this place, and in San Antonio, I think it was 18 to 20 million bucks. There's a toilet sitting in front of the fireplace. There was no copper wire in the walls. Carpet's all taken out. And I look at his builder. His builder goes, "Oh, this is a good deal." It was the biggest wreck I ever saw. So I think we picked up, let's just keep it simple. We bought it for $20 million with debt because the bank wanted to get rid of it because it's a liability to the bank because nobody's paying on it. Mm-hmm. And the taxes are not being paid. So we pick it up for like 20, we fix it. And this is again, the language of money. We increase NOI, net operating income. So the moment we rehabbed it, it was all borrowed money. We got the rent up, the net operating income increased. And then it was now, let's say, from 20 million to 40 million. And most people would flip it, right? Oh, I'll get 40 million bucks. You don't flip because the moment you flip it, you have capital gains tax. So what we do is we borrow out the equity and we bought more property.
Oh, wow.
So debt is tax-free. If you can understand that one. So that's how powerful the banking system is. So I'm not against the banks. I like debt, tax-free money, which is debt. So and everybody, and like Dave Ramsey, live debt-free, get out of debt, live below your means. I'm going, why? You don't have to if you use the language of money.
So how and why is debt tax-free?
Because the banks control it. Because if you don't have debt, the economy stops. The only way money is created, if you understand the macro of money, which is George Gammon's world, as you know, that's where we met.
Yeah.
If we don't borrow money, there's no money created. So only until I go to the bank, I'll use my credit card. The moment I borrow money, that's when money is created. So money is created out of debt. So as savers, they don't want your money. A savings is a liability. You know why? Because the bank has to pay you interest on it. They don't want your savings. They want your credit card debt. If you understand that, everything is opposite. Let me say this. All coins have three sides: heads, tails, and the edge of the coin. And financial intelligence is stand on the edge and see what's right and what's wrong on both sides. Then make your mind up. But our schools say, well, this is right, this is wrong. That's why school teachers are They don't even know they are. They believe in labor unions. Look at the pilots are on strike right now for the labor unions. I would never join a labor union. Not that I say it's wrong. I'm not a communist. I'm not a Marxist. Workers of the world unite. That was Karl Marx. How about elections? Stalin says it's not who votes that counts, it's who counts the vote that counts.
But back to the whole printing money, inflation, not saving money. Like you mentioned, the most unprecedented amounts of money have been printed in the last 2 years since COVID. So what would you recommend people do now? What should they be buying? What assets should they be buying?
I don't give financial advice.
Okay.
You know, I'm always on Fox and all that talking about gold and silver, but gold and silver are God's money. Then there's Bitcoin, which is people's money. And then there's fake money or fiat currency, the US dollar, the pound, the yen, the peso. But the most important thing is, I'll say again, money is just a language, just words. And words are free. But until you change the vocabulary in your head and learn the language of money, like if I was going to live in Japan, I'd learn Japanese. I don't speak Japanese. I'm fourth generation. I don't have any plans. I'm not going to move to Japan because their economy is worse than ours. And the people are good people and all that, but I just don't want to live there. Like I don't want to live in Hawaii because it's too woke. You know, I'm down here in Miami. I'm going, I'd rather live here than in Hawaii.
It's great here. You should move.
But you know what I'm saying? So I moved out. I moved out of Hawaii, California, Oregon. They're all so left. They're all so academically, politically correct. It's nauseating. I just don't want to be around them. I'm not saying they're bad people. Please hear what I'm saying. You're entitled. I fought in Vietnam twice as a Marine helicopter pilot. Went down 3 times. You know, I fought for freedom. I didn't fight for Republicans. I didn't fight for Democrats. I didn't fight for liberals. I didn't fight for conservatives. I fought for freedom. So if you want to be a communist, you're free to do that. That's what freedom means. You want to be a capitalist, you're free to do that. But if you read the Communist Manifesto, it was coming in 2 stages. 1930 was a takeover of academia. And 2020 was Twitter. And then you just look at the facts.
So the last 2, given, you protected freedom, Vietnam, the last 2 years with COVID must have been shocking for you.
Well, it was I knew it was coming. That's what I'm saying. I show this book not to sell the book, but I hate it when people say, "Oh yeah, I said this was coming." I said, "Well, prove you said it." This is what I did. This is what I do. Listen to what people, not what they say, but what do they do? What are they doing? Not what they're saying. Words are cheap, you know. So that's what I'm saying. I did it. I just want to show you I did this thing. And this was 2013. That was 9 years ago. And the stock market crashes here. And the stock market crashes. It's not just stock. It's going to be real estate. It's going to be stocks, bonds, and stocks, bonds, real estate, and something else. But anyway, we're crashing now. That's like Neiman Marcus having a sale. I'm excited. I'm going, oh boy.
Yeah.
You know?
So that $300 million loan, which you took during the 2008 crash, amazing opportunity. How do you go about borrowing that much money? And then also, how do you service a loan like that?
The property pays for it. I don't pay for anything. And understand this, the banks have to lend money. They don't want your savings. That's why, oh, you should save money. Why would I do that when they're quantitative easing, idiot? Why would you do that when they're printing more money than ever in the history of the world? Why would you save money when America's the biggest debtor nation in world history? You've got to be really effing stupid. You know, you probably went to school. You're probably a school teacher. I'm not saying they're bad people. They just don't speak the language of money. So the reason I can borrow that money is because when that property went down, it was a liability to the bank. And I said, guess what, sweethearts? You give us the money, we'll fix your problem. They said, how much do you want? And, you know, I'm just using round numbers because it's been a while ago. Let's say it's $20 million. They gave me the money for everything.
Wow.
And to fix it. And then they got the NOI, net operating income. Again, that's vocabulary of a real estate guy. Stock guys speak a different language. Okay. So real estate guy says, this NOI is this vocabulary, just words. Words are free. Learn the language. And so they said, okay, so we got the net operating income out. And they said, do you want to flip it? I said, no, because then I have a tax consequence. It's called capital gains. Don't sell anything. So we borrowed out the $20 million and we bought 10 more properties. That's how you get rich. You have to learn the language, vocabulary of money, and not what I'm saying. What am I doing?
And is it because of capital gains why you just won't touch the stock market? You won't touch Amazon, Tesla?
I don't trust the stock market.
You don't trust it?
I can make my own assets. I'm a full-blown entrepreneur. Doesn't mean I don't have stocks, but there's stocks in my company I created. On July 8th, 2022, I took my first company public on the New York Stock Exchange. I've taken public before on Toronto Stock Exchange. I'm a capitalist. I'm an entrepreneur. You know, so I took my gold mine on the New York Stock Exchange with the help of a Canadian friend of mine. And the gold mine this time was in Provo, Utah, Mormon land. You know, oh, you're anti-religion. No, I just said they're Mormons out there.
Mm-hmm.
My friends are Mormons. I like Mormons. I like anybody. As long as not communists. But anyway, and Mormons are very, very good with money as a general rule.
Okay.
You know, they're very, very, very good. But this is a 140-year-old gold mine. It was just sitting there. And this friend from Canada called up, a young guy about your brother's age there. He calls up and he says, guess what? I said, what? I said, I think they missed the vein. I said, what? 140 years ago, they missed the vein. I said, well, how do you know that? But he's a techie. So he went into the 140 years of records. He had it digitalized. And they put all the miners, the old guys, you know, the little picks and shovels and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he put it, and he could put it in pictures. And he says, look, they missed the vein. So they struck gold. It was a good high-producing gold mine for 140 years. But the biggest vein was 7 feet over.
Oh, wow.
And so all they did was they went sideways for about 7 feet. They went, oh, my God, this is the richest gold mine in the world. We got it for nothing. Then we took it public.
Incredible. So you don't need the stock market?
No, I do to
sell your own stock.
Shares.
Yes,
yes.
to sell your own shares.
Well, you know, Tony Robbins is big on ETFs and all that
Yes.
and all that stuff because that's what his son sells.
Yeah.
There's always an agenda in there, you know. Tony's a good guy, smart boy, but he's not a capitalist like me. He doesn't take companies
Public.
public.
That makes a lot of sense. You said something earlier, which I want to touch on. I'm going to actually quote it because I want to make sure I get this right. You said in a video, you said, if I pay you, you think like an employee.
Yeah.
And your brain will change. And if you learn never to work for money, you'll be a rich man. So this was fascinating. I really like this. So can you explain this philosophy in further detail? What changes in the brain when somebody gives you a paycheck?
Well, because first of all, paychecks are taxed.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
And then you get addicted to it. You look at the people that are in trouble today, they're terrified of losing their paycheck. If you've never had a paycheck, you're not ever worried. I don't need a paycheck. I can go to the bank and borrow money. I can create an asset and sell it, you know, as long as I have to pay capital gains. But that's, again, let me just say this. Money is a language. It's a vocabulary. Words are free. But if you don't change the words and the vocabulary in your head, that's like me sitting in Japan wondering why nobody will speak to me. Well, I don't speak Japanese. So most people, I would say 90%, you know, especially here, a lot of people are small business owners here.
Yes.
They're not capitalists. They're small business. They pay, guess who pays the highest taxes? Small business.
Yeah.
I don't pay anything. So that's why when Biden says they're going to appoint 87,000 IRS agents, I know who he's going after.
Yes.
He's not going after the employees. He's going after small business.
Why do you think they're doing that?
Because small business can't afford the attorneys and the accountants to fight them.
Why do they want to go to war with the middle class?
Because that's what Klaus Schwab wants.
And why does Klaus Schwab want that?
Because someday you'll own nothing and then you'll be happy.
What's the greater agenda?
Communism. I wrote another book, just came out this year. It's called The Communist Manifesto.
Yeah.
And all it is quotes. I mean, we've been warring for so many years. Like I said, I read the Communist Manifesto in 1965. I was 18 years old, went to school in New York. And my economics teacher didn't go to a woke snowflake university. He went to West Point, U.S. Military Academy.
Okay.
And during World War II, my instructor, my economics teacher, was a B-17 pilot. He went down and came back, prisoner of war, still escaped and all this stuff. I'm 18 years old sitting in his class, and instead of reading, the great economists are like Malthus, Keynes, Ricardo, Adam Smith, and all those guys. He didn't have us read that. Our economics teacher had us read Marx, Stalin, Lenin, Mao, Hitler. And I went, holy mackerel. And so when I read the Communist Manifesto, only 50 pages,
Yeah.
I said, my family's communist. They believe so when I graduated from Kings Point U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, I refused to join the labor union. My poor dad, head of the labor union.
Of course.
Hawaii State Teachers Communist Party. Hawaii State Teachers. I'm not saying they're bad people.
I understand.
You have the freedom to believe in what you want to believe in. But if you don't know what you've been put in your head, your kids are sitting in school right now getting stuff put in their brain that is actually Marxist or Stalin or Lenin or Mao. And guess who's killed the most people? Communists. You look at, I was a U.S. Marine. I joined the Marines for one reason. Their mission is to kill people. They're very clear on their mission. You don't want to kill people. I was a pilot, right? You don't want to kill people? Join the Coast Guard. Save people. It's really quite that black and white clear, So I said, well, if I'm going to go to Vietnam, I didn't have to go because I was draft exempt because of my industry was oil. I'm an oil man. I went to school to learn to drive oil tankers. Today I own oil wells, That's how education paid off for me. I don't own oil stock. I own oil wells. I sell oil. I don't sell stock.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Anyway, so I'm sitting there like listening to this teacher going, I think I just don't want to join a labor union. No. And so since the Vietnam War was still on, I didn't have to go. If I was going to fight, who do you want to fight with? A bunch of guys carrying purses or guys carrying a gun? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's that.
I do.
I am a Marine. I speak like a Marine. I am a Marine. And in my core, my values are very, very Marine core. My attorney is airborne, 82nd Airborne. We come from different value systems, and we're as tough as nails. And so every time I hear these woke snowflake university people, I'm going, what are we doing to the young men of this country? Today the biggest problem is too many boys are raised by their moms because the guys are flaking out, and then they go to school and get taught by women school teachers. And today I hear women complaining, well, there's no men out there. I said, well, because they're taught by their mothers.
Femme-centric systems.
Yes. And then, I said, well, let the boy go into the girls' restroom. As a guy, I wouldn't mind, but there's better ways to get there's better way to get your cheap thrills. You know what I mean?
There you go.
And so it's so messed up. And but I am a hardcore U.S. Marine. I did some horrible things at war. I was a gunship pilot. We had a life expectancy of 30 days. 30 days. If I didn't want to live 30 days, I would have flown transports like the CH-47 or CH-53, different mission. But gunship pilots got in close and killed people. We were crystal clear on our mission, our duties. I went down 3 times, and my biggest job was to get my crew home in one piece. We all came home in one piece, no injuries, no broken limbs, no missing legs. That was my job. And I never fought to kill. I fought to be brave, to prove I could do it. I fought for courage. I fought for our freedom. Then I came home. I landed Norton Air Force Base in California, the People's Republic of California, and I got spit on by the hippies. The Woodstock generation, yes. The love generation. I'm getting spit on.
Wow.
I think Nancy Pelosi was in that crowd. Not sure, but anyway, this
sounds like her crowd.
I know. I'm going, and then my the guy in charge of all of us, he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we fought for." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He says, "We fought for the freedom to spit on us." Whew.
Wow.
That's a U.S. Marine.
Yeah.
He says, "We just can't kill them." I said, "Okay, good."
That's a very powerful way to show the importance of freedom of speech and freedom in general.
Yeah. So I fight back with financial education.
Yeah. And
that's the only reason I do what they don't teach in school.
And you mentioned you sort of touched on the war on men, which was quite interesting. Do you feel like there's a greater war on men than there is on women? Do you feel like there's this focus on sort of feminizing men? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. in the Marine Corps, they call it short arm inspection. Pull down the zipper. You don't know what's underneath there anymore. Or in Spanish, if we're in Miami, no cojones, no balls,
There you go, yeah.
I've never met such swishy. I mean, it's okay, it's your freedom. You want to act like a swish, it's up to you. But I'm a Marine. I'm a man. Now, the good thing is there's fewer men, which is good for me.
It is, yeah. Less competition for you on the market. There you go. But why, there must be a reason why they're trying to, and I'll use your word, create more swishes, feminized men.
Because they don't fight back. Same as why they want to defund the police, why they want to take away our guns.
So men are the weapon. Men are the ones that go to war. Men are the ones that protect us, basically.
Generally, yeah. Women go to war now, but when I was in Vietnam, the women were nurses, and they were just as brave as the men.
Of course.
I saw my friends at my attorney is again. He's 82nd Airborne. 82nd Airborne's culture and values are very similar to Marine Corps. Very, very strong. You don't screw anybody. You tell the truth. You fight hard. And I found that his wife was an Army nurse in Afghanistan. And I said, where is she? And we're at a party in Phoenix. And I went up to her. I just gave her a big hug and thanked her. She said, what's this for? I said, because there are times as a pilot, sometimes we picked up bodies on the field. And so we'd have bodies with guts and all this stuff blown apart. I don't know how they were living. And I fly into the MASH hospital at China Beach, outside of Da Nang in Vietnam. And these nurses would come out, just drag the bodies off. And we just take off and like this, get back to the fighting. I never said thank you to them. So when I met his wife, because that's what she was doing in Afghanistan, I gave her a big hug and said, thank you. Thank you for being a very, very strong woman. And my wife's a very strong woman, but we're separated. She had enough of the Marine Corps stuff for me.
Oh, really? It was too much?
Well, I'm pretty much of an asshole. I'm pretty macho, She says, I don't, you're just too strong all the time. She says, you're always fighting, you're always arguing, always doing this stuff. I'm going, would you rather have me carrying a purse? If you want to carry a purse and wear lipstick, that's up to you. It's a free country. I don't really care. I don't care who you sleep with. It's none of my business. I like pretty women.
I know you do. I know you do.
I saw you and oh my God, I'll come here and do any interview you want.
Oh, no, I appreciate you coming here. But a lot of these problems, you always say sort of stems back to the education system and the lack of financial literacy. So what would you say the 3 most important types of incomes are that people must know about?
Well, there's earned, portfolio, passive. Earned is when you work for money. Your savings are earned income. That's where you're taxed the highest. And then passive income is income from stocks and bonds generally. That's portfolio. Capital gains. Portfolio is when you buy low, sell high. I never sell. I have an asset, I keep that asset. And then portfolio income is capital gains and passive income is cash flow. So that was the whole thing. That's my board game is cash flow. And people say, why did you create the board game cash flow? Because another great entrepreneur in education is Maria Montessori. And she said, what the hand does, the mind remembers. What the hand does, the mind remembers. Again, deeds, not words, not what a person says, what are they doing? So I was ADD, I have no attention span. But my rich dad taught me playing Monopoly. And so I would go work for him for free because he says, if I pay you, you'll think like an employee. So I worked for him for free. Then he would teach me about money playing Monopoly. And we all know the formula: 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. So today I own red hotels and lots of about 12,000 greenhouses.
Can you tell us more what your portfolio looks like? So real estate, gold, commodities, Bitcoin.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm investing in today, okay, because it goes to what I was taught was the 5 Gs. So, in this book here, Prophecy, Why the Market's Crashing, it's come in. Markets crash in 3 phases. I go 1, bounce, 2, bounce, 3. So right now went boom, boom. It's going to crash again, then go up and down. Now that's bad for my generation of boomers because they're the first generation into a 401k. That happened in 1974. These are the facts. Just check out the facts. So 1974, my generation got set up with a 401k. So they're going to get wiped out. So if you're parents or my generation, you might have new roommates.
Yeah.
They're going to lose their houses. They're going to lose everything. The other thing that's going to happen to them is that their biggest expense comes in the last 10 years of your life, called medical expenses. So with that, knowing all that, again, seeing the facts and figures and demographics, I own retirement homes because they have to go there.
Yeah.
And the average low income person they're going to be charged $100,000 a year to live in a retirement home. So I own those things. I also own food. So I invest in Wagyu bulls. Now, why Wagyu? Because it's a brand, Japanese bulls. So when I was like 15, my friends and I would go to the dairy in Hilo, Hawaii, and we're watching the bull. And so the bull sat there, and they brought the cows in, and the bull just had sex all day long. I said, oof. So we're 15 years old. I said, I want to be a breeding bull. Because you don't know as a kid, right? That looks like fun. So this guy's breeding away. So I bought a Wagyu bull. And what we do is we sell the semen. So it's packaged.
Oh, wow.
So that semen
unusual.
Can impregnate like one ejaculation can impregnate like 100 cows. And I get a percentage of every calf.
That's incredible.
So that's food. And why Wagyu? Because it's a brand.
Yeah.
The rich will always have money. So I live in places where the brands are. Like I live in a place called Brays Island, South Carolina, because that's where the rich hang out. There was a book called Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged that when the crash came, the capitalists went into hiding. And when I found Brays Island, South Carolina, I said, this is where they're hiding. So my next door neighbors and all, they're all hardcore capitalists, the rich people. And unfortunately, as you guys know, with the rioting and all that, the poor are getting slaughtered in the cities.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really frightening today. So that's another thing. So I own gold mines. I own gold. I own tons of gold. I own silver. I own Bitcoin. But I didn't buy Bitcoin. Today it's about 20,000. Just broke below 20. But I bought it at 6,000. So the lesson is financial education. Your profit's made when you buy, not when you sell. So what happened to most people, as it went up, they were buying at the top. The same as real estate here in Miami. They were buying at the top. I just wait for the crash.
Mm.
And so when the next crash comes, I'm I have tons of cash. I can come, I'm ready to go for the next crash. That's why I wrote this book here. It was a warning that you can prepare for it. But if you don't have the vocabulary or the words or the language of money in your head, you're saying, well, I should save money. Or maybe I should get out of debt. Maybe I should sell my house and pay the capital gains. Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should put more money in the stock market. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. I don't touch any of that stuff. I'd rather have Japanese breeding bulls.
It sounds like a good business. So what made you pull the trigger and actually buy Bitcoin? What do you like about it?
Well, because I took stock trading classes. I don't invest in stocks, but it's called options trading. So I took 3 years of options trading. I didn't like it, but I had to learn how markets go up and down. All markets go up and down. Rich Dad Poor Dad is about market fundamentals, and then there's momentum. So all markets go up. The bull goes up the stairs.
Yep.
The bear comes out the window. We're in a bear right now. This baby's coming down hard. So once I understood how, it's like I was a surfer as a kid in Hawaii. All waves come in sets. So you sit there, nothing happening. All of a sudden, a set of 3 will come through, and then it's over. So you're waiting for the wet set, and you surf it, get out. So the same thing when I'm in any market, whether it's gold or stocks or real estate, I can feel the momentum of the market. And that's what stock trading does. I don't trade stocks because it's capital gains. I don't pay taxes legally. So because of that, but you still have to know the momentum of markets. So I was watching here in Miami, because you're the hot place right now, same as Phoenix. But Phoenix real estate is crashing right now. It's crashing. Why? Because everybody came in. Same as Miami, it's starting to crash now because too many people came in. So all the losers come in late. That's why I said your timing to get to Miami was good timing.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it's kind of an instinct.
Mm-hmm.
So not that I plan on moving to Miami, but I'm just watching it right now because I have friends who made a fortune here because they were here when it was early.
Yeah, absolutely. So when do you start to see this market recovering?
Well, history was, again, what's the facts, right? The last depression started in 1929. You know when it ended? 25 years later.
Oh, wow.
1954. What are the facts? Not an opinion. What are the facts? The Dow hit 381 in 1929. It hit 381 in 1954. It took a world war to pull us out. And that's what I'm concerned about, being a Marine, helicopter pilot. The odds of us going to war are increasing. That's not good. It's not good, because I've been to war. You know, it's not a John Wayne movie. It's not a Tom Cruise Top Gun movie.
Yeah.
It's, you see people, like I said, when I put the bodies in the back of my helicopter and flew them into the MASH unit, the hotel, then the nursing unit, and the nurses pulled them out. That's war. You can smell it. Their guts, shit, piss everywhere. Brains, arms. That's war. It's not this Tom Cruise stuff, not John Wayne. It's not good. And that's what I'm concerned about.
To what extent is this all just destruction by design?
Well, I think it was written in Karl Marx's book in 1848 called the Communist Manifesto. That's how I wrote the Capitalist Manifesto. I should have brought a copy. All it is quotes throughout history. Every communist was saying that this was coming.
Yeah.
You know, Marx in 1848 said, again, it would come in two stages. Stage one was 1930, was socialism. 1936, when Social Security started.
Yeah.
Oh, was that an accident? Oh, really? Of course, it was pushed by the communist school teachers. I'm not saying they're bad people. They think differently, which they're a right to do so. And then he said the next thing would happen in 2020. And Stalin said, it's not who votes that counts, it's who counts the votes. We were warned of all this. So I wrote the Capitalist Manifesto to counter it. I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad because my positioning statement in Capitalist Manifesto says, how do you counter communism taught in our schools? By teaching capitalism in our homes.
Another way that they're moving forward with this control, and I know you've spoken about this, is central bank digital currency, CBDCs. So what's your take on them, and how do we prevent against it?
Well, it's coming anyway because it's already here.
Yes.
It's already in China, and it goes to social credit scores. So CBDC, central bank digital currency, is surveillance. The same as Amazon's Siri and all that. I don't use any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody surveilling me. I am a private citizen. So central bank digital currency is they can track you. If you buy a Trump book, suddenly your taxes go up or something, and you buy a Biden book, you get bonus points. They're going to track you via your money. So the way I counter that, which I cover in Rich Dad's Prophecy, is basically I stay off you can stay off the grid. I stay off the money system. So and it was just signed, Executive Order 14067, EO, Executive Order, was just signed by Biden in March this year for a central bank digital currency.
Yes.
So it's here. That's Jim Rickards talks about that all the time. And he's a good man. I like him. He's a friend of mine. But so the way I'm going to get around central bank digital currency is that's why I have Bitcoin.
Yes.
And secondly, unless they nationalize that too, but I have gold and silver. Okay, as long as I have gold and silver, I can come to you and say, look, let's say somebody cleans my house. I say, I'll pay you in silver coins. They can't track it.
Yeah.
And the same as I want to buy a car, I can buy gold coins. I want to buy a house, I can use gold coins. So as J.P. Morgan said years ago, gold is money, everything else is credit. And the banking system is built on credit, as you know, because money doesn't exist unless you borrow it. So that's why I'm already preparing for CBDC by having tons of gold and tons of silver. I do mean tons.
Okay. Literally tons.
And I buy it with debt.
Amazing.
That's why I own a gold mine in Provo, Utah. I had a gold mine in China, but they took it. That's why I don't like Chinese food anymore.
Who took it?
Chinese government.
They just took it.
Of course.
Yeah.
They're going to do the same thing here. Understand, I fought communism.
Yeah.
I was in Vietnam twice. I fought them. what the Marines say, we don't start the war, but we end the war.
Mm.
And we go in there, you know, the Chinese have killed 65 million people. I think Stalin killed like 30 million people. Hitler killed 18 million people. But the United States fights those guys. Except now the problem is the battles inside our school system. That's why parents are now called terrorists by Biden, because they question the communist school boards.
It's so weird.
Teaching and wokeism and all, what else are you teaching?
I know you're also very pro the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. So I'd like to understand a little bit more about how you think that is important in America.
Well, again, that's how the whole war started. You know, the Civil War, I mean, the Revolutionary War, they had guns.
Mm-hmm.
If not, they'd be paying taxes to England. Okay. Another thing I want to say, I like why am I in Arizona, is I can carry Class 3. Class 3 is full auto.
Oh, wow.
See, in Vietnam, I carried an M60.
Okay.
Full auto, you know. So if you see me cruising around Phoenix with a yoga bag on my side,
That's what's inside.
is a full auto M16 with 100 rounds of ammunition. And everybody goes in and buys these Glocks, okay, you know, these little plastic guns, I call them. That's fine, you know. The trouble with a Glock is for $50, you can switch it. It becomes full auto illegally. So my full autos are legal, but a switched Glock is illegal, and they're plastic.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty good with guns. My highest score was rockets. I was really good at shooting rockets. I love them, you know, because
I get that.
Yeah.
Just finally, then, 'cause I really appreciate everything we've spoken about. It's been so fascinating. But you talk about all this corruption in the system. You know, you talk about how people can become financially free, become independent, not rely on the system. So have you ever felt at any time that you might be in danger? Have you ever felt like people might try and censor you at all?
All the time, you know, like the most dangerous I ever felt was I came back from Vietnam in '73. I got spit on by these hippies. You know, like I said, I think Pelosi was in the audience.
Probably.
She wasn't, but anyway, I can see her smiling face. But then I come back to Hawaii and I'm getting spit on. This is 1973. I'm going, what happened to America? But that's what Marx wrote about in 1930 when Columbia University, they brought teachers over. And, you know, in 1960, when I was at school in New York, that's when the rioting started.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when all the Kent State and all these things, they shot kids there and all this because they're arming the kids with indoctrination to go against the system. So anyway, am I concerned? Yes. So I got invited back to Arizona State University last year. I almost didn't go because the last time I was in my MBA program, which only lasted 2 weeks, I go to my accounting class in 1973. I'm sitting there. I'm sitting in my Marine Corps pilot's outfit. Big mistake. I get spit on in the classroom. The kids just hated me.
That's awful.
Oh, God. I should have shot you, you know. I mean, I carried a gun because I was a top secret officer. We carried guns. And so then the accounting teacher didn't know what he was talking about because he was a teacher.
Yeah.
You know, I learned accounting from my rich dad. So that's in the cash flow board game. That's in rich dad, poor dad, assets, liabilities, cash flow, all this stuff. And so I got spit on in the classroom, and I swore I'd never go back to school again. So Arizona State called last year, would you come and teach our honors program? I said, you got to be kidding me. I'd rather go back to Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, the good news is they prevailed. And last Saturday, we taught the cash flow game to their honors program. And that's really good news. And I was really surprised. I was afraid, you know, because I didn't know who was sitting in the audience. And there's the top students. The other good news is Ron DeSantis here. They called us in to teach financial education in the Florida school system.
Nice.
To elementary school kids. So education's changing, but they're going to run into opposition, as you know, from most school teachers, because most school teachers have not read the Communist Manifesto. They believe in taxation, labor unions. You know, the pilots are on strike now. They're all labor union guys. The other thing they don't tell you is that my classmates, when they came back, My poor dad wanted me to go fly for United Airlines. I said, why would I do that? I have to join the labor union. He says, yeah, but it's a good job. It's secure and all this stuff. What most people don't know is that United Airlines pilots lost their pensions. They got stolen. And there's a thing called the PBGC, Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation, supposed to back up all these pensions. It's bankrupt. And so I wrote a book here with Ted Siddell. He's from Fort Lauderdale. And it's called Who Stole My Pension? The next biggest thing you're going to see is our pensions are bankrupt. They've been robbed and stolen. Interesting enough, Biden's top executive is named Gina Raimondo. She was the head of Rhode Island's pensions. They went bust. She stole the shit out of them. And she got paybacks from all Wall Street guys. I don't trust Wall Street. I don't trust the Treasury. And I don't trust the Fed. So that's why I'm an entrepreneur. I create my own assets. I don't need theirs. And I have gold, silver, Bitcoin. And so Biden has this woman, Gina Raimondo, and then, this crash. My school is shipping. I went to school to be a tanker officer. So today I own oil wells. I sell oil. I don't sell oil stock. But this guy, Pete Buttigieg, who's the transportation secretary, at the height of the supply chain crisis, he goes on maternity leave. I'm going, wow. I guess not what they're saying is what are they doing. What is this guy Biden doing? The Federal Reserve now is stacked with what are they doing? I'm not saying what are they saying, what are they doing? The academy went to is U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, Kingsport, New York. Our motto was acta non verba, deeds, not words. As Marine officers, we're trained to watch what a person does, not what they say. If I saw a guy who was so afraid, didn't want to go into a battle, I had to take him out. I mean, just say, hey, take a break. You're not ready. Do you know what I mean? I don't want you in the back of my aircraft when I'm counting on you. And the thing I loved about flying for the Marine Corps, we fought in teams. We'd go in flights of 3 and 4. So I'm watching the Pelicans fly up and down the beach here. They all fly in formation. Civilian pilots fly alone. Yeah. Interesting, huh? But I went to military school. I fought for the Marine Corps. People say the Japanese Marine Corps. No, American Marine Corps.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's how uninformed Americans are, because they go to school and they never learn to speak the language of money. And the best thing about the language of money, words are free. You don't have to pay for them. And if you want to change your life, change your words, your vocabulary.
There you go.
Speak money.
There you go. Where can people buy your books, find out where you're up to? Where should they go to?
Well, there's richdad.com. I have 3 projects this year. I'm doing Arizona State now. And so it's a big, overcame my fear of that one because I don't want to face school teachers or students. Number 2 is Prager University, and I were doing an event with a guy named, with Dennis Prager and Jordan Peterson. Yep. And we're going to do a huge gala event in Beverly Hills this November. And the other one, and also in Austin, Texas with Prager, because we're very, very, they would call us right wing, but we're very capitalists.
Yes.
We're capitalists, not communists. And the third thing I'm doing is my roommate on the carrier in Vietnam. Well, I got court-martialed twice because I had disciplinary problems.
Okay. So you have that this year.
So anyway, I got kicked out as a lieutenant, and he came out as a lieutenant general. So to make colonel is really hard.
Okay.
To make 1 star, almost impossible. He's a 2-star. He went to 3-star, and today's a congressman from Upper Michigan. His name is Jack Bergman. Congressman Bergman is a 3-star General Bergman. And we bought a house right next to the Capitol in Washington, D.C. He's going to live in it. It's going to be called the Rich Dad House.
Nice.
And we're going to have meetings at the Rich Dad House, and people are going to walk by all our products and all that. So those are the 3 big initiatives for this year. One is Arizona State University, Prager University, and the D.C. house next to the Capitol, the Rich Dad House. That's what we're up to.
Amazing. It sounds like
and DeSantis is going to teach financial education in elementary schools in Florida.
Amazing. Yeah, it just sounds like there's so much happening right now to fight all of this woke culture, the communism, the authoritarianism that's coming. So I love being part of this conversation. Robert, I want to thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. I really enjoy, all your books, everything you've taught. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
No, thank you. It's my honor. That's why I asked you who was your audience first before I opened my big mouth and put my foot in it. So thank you very much.
No, this is perfect. My audience will absolutely adore this.
Simply, I believe in the freedom of speech. If you don't like it, that's your problem. I don't care who you sleep with. It's not my business and stuff like that. And I do like carrying full automatic weapons because that's what I carried in Vietnam. I don't want to go to a gunfight unless I have a machine gun.
Me too. I'm not going without a machine gun. I respect that.
Yeah.
Very pro-freedom. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone so much for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to hit the like button and hit subscribe so you never miss a video.